What were the major turning points in Josh Allen's football journey that helped mold him into the elite player he is today? We're going to break it all down today on Locked On Bills.
You are Locked On Bills, your daily Buffalo Bills podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Bills Mafia? It's Joe Marino from the Draft Network, and I'm your host of Locked On Bills. Happy Tuesday to you, and thank you for making Locked On Bills your first listen every day, or if you're joining us on the YouTube channel, your first watch every day. Well, Josh Allen week continues here on a Tuesday, and the focus of our conversation is going to be acknowledging the turning points in his football journey that have molded him into the player he has become today. And so these are going to be very specific moments, games, things that happened to him that I think were extremely formative in him evolving as a player and developing into the player he's become. And so I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about coaching influences. This really isn't going to get into Jordan Palmer and the specific things that they've worked together on during the offseason, or Ken Dorsey or Brian Dable or Sean McDermott or anything like that. This is specific moments and things that happened that have influenced Josh Allen. These are what I would identify as the turning points. And so we're going to go somewhat chronologically here, where the first segment, I'm going to break down some of the pre-NFL stuff. And then in segment 2, we'll focus in on 2018 and 2019. In segment 3, we will focus in on the last two seasons, 2020 and 2021. And so as Josh Allen enters year 5 of his career, there's a lot that has happened that has created the excitement for everything that is to come with Josh Allen. So let's begin things by focusing in on the pre-NFL part of his football journey, and specifically being a high school athlete out of Fireball, California. His dream is to go play college football at Fresno State, and Fresno State passed him over just like every single FBS and FCS program in America. He had to go to the JUCO ranks, Reedley College, to gain playing time and hopefully do something to influence the FCS and FBS programs across the country to bring him in. And so Josh Allen, growing up on a farm, played multiple sports, right? Basketball and baseball in addition to football. He didn't have the recognition of other top quarterbacks coming out of high school because he wasn't part of the elite quarterback camps. He didn't participate in the 7-on-7s. And his parents resisted moving somewhere else where he could gain more exposure. They very much believed in this philosophy that you bloom where you are planted. And so Josh Allen had to go to the JUCO ranks, Reedley College. And he did enough at Reedley College to earn 2 offers. That's it. And he contacted every single coach across college football at the FBS and FCS level. He had 2 offers. One from Eastern Michigan, one from Wyoming. And Eastern Michigan pulled their scholarship offer when he visited Wyoming. And obviously he went to Wyoming, and we know exactly what happened from there. So I do think kind of that build-up story to him getting to Wyoming was pretty influential in developing that chip on his shoulder because he was overlooked. And then even despite displaying the skill set that he showcased at Wyoming, and everybody being able to recognize that this is a very talented physical specimen. The narratives around Josh Allen before the draft were just all over the place. And I understand that. I mean, because he had some significant issues that he needed to overcome in terms of accuracy and decision making. And let's face it, wasn't that good of a quarterback at Wyoming. And now you're going to project this guy to the NFL, and you think he's going to be a better quarterback against NFL competition? When he was at Wyoming and had to play Nebraska or Iowa or Power 5 programs, Josh Allen struggled a lot. A lot of people didn't see a path for Josh Allen to improve upon his issues and thought he was too much of a project. And for some evaluators out there in the football media community, it got personal. You saw headlines that said Josh Allen was a parody of a prospect. You've seen the headline that if Josh Allen succeeds, the Bills will have outsmarted basically all regular humans and the entirety of math itself. That doubt made the chip even bigger for Josh Allen. I assure you, Josh Allen was fully aware of all the doubters and all the comments out there like he's a parody of a prospect. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that he sat there and searched his name and read every single thing about him, but I assure you he was aware of what was being said about him. A lot of doubt out there. And I think all of that was critical and influential in Josh Allen molding into the player he is today, because I think the best teams, the best athletes, the best coaches, they know how to manufacture the chip on their shoulder. They know how to find that edge. Well, for Josh Allen, wasn't hard for him to find doubters and to build that chip on his shoulder. I think all of that was very, very influential in Josh Allen developing into what he's become today. Whether you're ready to pop the question or you're celebrating a milestone moment, find jewelry as unique as her with the modern convenience of online shopping at BlueNile.com. You can create the engagement ring of her dreams. Blue Nile has simple online tools that let you choose the diamond shape, size, and clarity, as well as the setting style. And then Blue Nile's bench jewelers will handcraft her perfect engagement ring, making sure that each ring is one of a kind. Or you can celebrate life's special moments with fine jewelry. If you're looking for fine jewelry, but you're having a hard time choosing, don't worry. Blue Nile has jewelry experts on hand 24/7 to make sure that you can find a memorable gift at every budget. You can talk to them via chat or on the phone. Make your moment sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com, and Locked On Sports listeners get $50 off purchases of $500 or more. This podcast exclusive includes engagement rings. Use code Locked On. That's code Locked On. Plus, every order is insured, ships free, and arrives in discreet packaging that won't give away what's inside. Shop stress-free and find your forever piece. Go to BlueNile.com today. Let's get into Josh Allen 2018 rookie season, the turning points during that year that helped shape him into the quarterback we see today. And obviously, Josh Allen didn't originally earn the starting job for the Buffalo Bills in 2018. Nathan Peterman was the week one starter, and that lasted all of one half against the Baltimore Ravens. But the Bills' offense in 2018 early on was terrible. And obviously, a terrible supporting cast with a raw quarterback out of Wyoming. A lot of concerns. So much so that the Bills in Josh Allen's second start in week 3 against the Minnesota Vikings on the road. The Bills were a 16.5-point underdog. And this, to me, was a major turning point in Josh Allen's career. As you know, the Bills won that football game despite being 16.5-point underdogs. They won 27-6. The biggest upset in the NFL since 1995 in terms of how big of an underdog a team was and won the football game. Bills won 27-6. And of course, you remember Josh Allen hurdling Anthony Barr and, Josh Allen jumping over things, becoming a thing after that. But the toughness, the leadership, all of that was very significant in that game. Just his second start. Came in, played the second half against the Ravens, made his first start against the Chargers, struggled a lot. But in that third game, you got a little bit of taste of some of the special things that Josh Allen can do. And obviously winning that game was very influential for him in his career. The next turning point in the 2018 season that I want to mention is Josh Allen getting injured against the Houston Texans. That prompted a lot of different things, but mostly it prompted the Bills to have to sign some veteran backup quarterbacks. So they signed Derek Anderson and they signed Matt Barkley. And those people were very influential to Josh Allen because he finally had some people in the room with him that have been through it, right? They've been starters in the NFL. They've seen a lot of different defenses and played with a lot of different players around them and had been coached by a lot of different coaches, which is something Nathan Peterman couldn't offer to Josh Allen. And so while the injury was unfortunate, you never want to see a guy get injured. I think allowing or creating the opportunity for the Bills to add Anderson and Barkley mattered a lot for Josh Allen. He got to see somebody else in his role getting coached through it. You got to see them. He got a chance to see somebody else execute what he's being asked to execute. And in this chunk, right, this first half of the season in 2018, the Bills also learned very quickly that they needed to revamp the weapons for Josh Allen. Throwing the football to Andre Holmes and Kelvin Benjamin and Jeremy Curley, not good enough. And not necessarily so much that it's not good enough, but also that it's not the type of receivers that work well with Josh Allen. You saw Robert Foster and Isaiah McKenzie become a bigger part of this offense down the stretch, and those are players that Josh Allen works better with. You talk about towering receivers like a Kelvin Benjamin, like an Andre Holmes, and you have this urgency to create narratives like, well, big towering receivers can help erase inaccuracy with their large catch radius. And so when you have an inaccurate quarterback like Josh Allen, providing him with towering receivers is the best thing for him because they have a big catch radius. No. The best thing that you can do for a quarterback that struggles with accuracy is give them receivers that can separate and get open. And by replacing guys like Kelvin Benjamin and Andre Holmes with Robert Foster and Isaiah McKenzie, you had a better complement of receivers around Josh Allen that plays more to his strengths and what's going to make him successful. So you had better quarterbacks in the room to help Josh, but you also had different skill sets at wide receiver that mesh better with his skill set. And then throughout the entire 2018 season, and this is a turning point, influential, all that stuff. One thing that I really respect about Brian Daboll that year, while the offense was not good at all, the creativity was there week in and week out. The offense never looked the same. He was never content saying, this is who we are, this is what we do. He kept on trying different things, changing up his looks. The Bills had the most personnel groupings in the NFL in 2018. He tried everything to try to get this offense to start going. And so all of that kind of came together in 2018. And then when Josh Allen came back from the elbow injury, the Bills went 3-3 down the stretch with Josh Allen as the quarterback. The passing production went way up. The rushing production went way up for Josh Allen. 4 of the last 6 games of the year, he rushed for over 95 yards. And then, of course, the finale against the Miami Dolphins, where Josh had 224 yards passing with 3 touchdowns, 95 yards rushing with 2 touchdowns, 5 total touchdowns, well over 300 total yards from scrimmage, and the Bills beat the Dolphins 42-17. So that entire journey of 2018 with the specifics, things that I mentioned, like the Minnesota win, like bringing in Anderson and Barkley, like trying a lot of different things offensively to figure out what's going to work with Josh Allen, and then revamping the wide receiver core with guys that can get open, was very influential in Josh Allen changing the narrative even within his 2018 rookie season, where that first, those first 6 games or so that he played in, kind of rough to watch. But then when he got back from injury, you saw a much improved player and a much more dynamic offense all around. So he finishes off that 2018 season with that big output against the Miami Dolphins, which is great momentum into 2019, his second season, right? And you're always expecting a big jump from players going from their rookie season to their second season. And in that offseason, Brandon Beane did a phenomenal job of building up the veteran talent around Josh Allen. Veteran talent around Josh Allen. That's important, right? He did a good job of making sure that Josh Allen, as a developing quarterback, wasn't surrounded by developing players. On the offensive line, adding Mitch Morse, Spencer Long, John Feliciano, Ty Nsekhe, LaAdrian Waddle, Quentin Spain. At tight end, bringing in Tyler Kroft and Lee Smith. At wide receiver, bringing in John Brown, Cole Beasley, and Andre Roberts. At running back, bringing in Frank Gore and TJ Yeldon. That's a huge influx of experience around Josh Allen offensively. That was very influential in Josh Allen ascending like he has. Now, year 2 was really interesting when you consider the start of the 2019 season, because a lot of those reckless moments for Josh Allen, they were pretty frequent. Now, his production was better, but you saw recklessness show up a lot early. Almost cost the Bills a week 1 win over the Jets. I think they won that game 17-16 and had to overcome some miscues by Josh Allen. But to me, week 4 against New England, I think this is one of the most significant games in Josh Allen's career. Week 4 against New England. The reckless moments sunk the Bills against New England. And I think Josh Allen, the careless version of Josh Allen, peaked against New England in week 4 in 2019. Bills lost that game 16-10. Tight game, 6-point loss. Josh turned it over 4 times, and he turned it over 4 times in basically 3 quarters of football. He had 3 interceptions and lost a fumble. It was all just being careless with the ball. And the Bills lost 16-10, and the Patriots had a blocked punt that was returned for a touchdown by Matthew Slater. That was part of their 16-10 win. And then late in the game, but early in the fourth quarter, the first series of the fourth quarter, Josh Allen sustained a concussion because he took a big hit that he probably shouldn't have taken. And so the protecting the body, the protecting the football, all of that manifested itself in this game against New England that the Bills lost 16-10. And so Josh Allen couldn't finish the game. He's injured. Matt Barkley has to step in. Again, a tight ball game, 16-10. The Bills had 4 possessions in the fourth quarter with an opportunity to tie the game and also take the lead with a made extra point, but Matt Barkley couldn't get it done. I'd like to think that if Josh Allen finished that game, the Bills probably would have won, especially because I think the Bills failed to convert on a 4th and goal from like the 3-yard line with Matt Barkley trying to punch it in. Got a feeling it might have been a little different if Josh Allen had the ball. That was actually the drive that Josh Allen got injured on. But I think seeing that happen was very influential for Josh's career. The next several games, if you guys recall, I think Tennessee was the first game after. Josh was was really trying to find that balance as a player with his approach and his mindset of being aggressive, but also taking care of the football. Now, the Bills were winning games. They were having a good season, but you could tell Josh was kind of trying to find that. And then Thanksgiving against Dallas. This was a game I was highly nervous about. And I don't know if you guys feel this way as well, but when the Bills are on national TV, I'm always a little nervous, right? It's like, this is my team. The entire world's going to watch them. And there's a sense of pride that you take in your team. You want them to play well, especially when you have a young quarterback, a high pick. You want him to play well in front of everybody. You want the narrative to change so badly as it relates to Josh Allen. And he's had a pretty good season. You could see growth, but still a lot of the warts were still there. And if you guys remember, I took over this podcast in January of 2019. And so we're talking through this season. And something that I said over and over again about Josh Allen that year was, how is he going to meet moments, right? How is he going to meet the moment? I know the 2019 listeners right now are like, yeah, Joe, we remember that. But it was a big deal. It was Josh had to prove to me, not that that was something he was thinking about, but in my own analysis and how I was going to perceive him as a player and talk about him, he had to prove to me that he can meet moments. All right, how about a road game in Dallas on Thanksgiving in front of a national audience? Well, Josh Allen met that moment, and I think this is a key turning point for us to bring up. Went 19 of 24, 231 yards, 43 rushing yards, passing touchdown, rushing touchdown. The Bills won the game 26-15. They improved to 8-3, and they made a statement that night. Josh Allen was awesome. I remember being so proud, right? The pride that you felt seeing your team on national TV on Thanksgiving with your young quarterback playing well and eating turkey legs afterwards. To me, that was a pivotal moment, a turning point for Josh Allen in his career. The last turning point that I want to mention as part of the 2019 season was the playoff loss to the Texans. The Bills led that game 16-0 with 6 minutes left in the third quarter. And then, Houston came back, took the lead. Josh unraveled quite a bit several times late in the game. He got careless with the ball, and he put the team in some bad situations. Bills ultimately lost that game. And Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott had an opportunity after that game to put the training wheels on Josh Allen and realize, hey, this guy can do some really good stuff for us, some really dynamic stuff for us. But man, is he going to present some challenges if he can't become smarter with the ball, if he can't develop as a deep passer. They could have put the training wheels back on, but they didn't. Not even close. They said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to trade our first-round pick for Stephon Diggs, and we're going to throw the football more than ever. We're going to put more on your plate than ever before going into the next season. Talk about giving a big vote of confidence to your young quarterback. He unravels in a playoff loss, and they say, you know what? We got to give you more in terms of weapons. We got to give you more on your plate, and we want to throw it even more. Don't underestimate that philosophical decision that was made coming out of that game and into the 2021 season. I think that very much set the stage. Now, on top of losing a playoff game, right? Nobody wants to lose a playoff game, especially in overtime where you felt like you should have won it because you were in control for most of the damn thing. The way that the team responded around Josh Allen, in addition to him going through a playoff loss, very, very pivotal in Josh Allen's career. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting needs and sports information. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's NHL playoffs and Major League Baseball. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. And BetOnline.net remains the best spot for all your podcasts and news this season. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports and events, including MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and the action. It's BetOnline, and it's where the game starts. Let's talk about the last two seasons for Josh Allen and some of the big turning points in my mind. Now, 2020 was the year 3 breakout season, right? Josh Allen finishes number 2 in the NFL MVP voting. And the way that season started was pretty cool. Remember this? I mean, I think they won the first 4 games, and Josh Allen was incredibly productive. That first game against the Jets, 33 of 46, that's a 72% completion percentage. His first career 300-yard game in week 1 against the Jets, had 3 total touchdowns. And do you guys remember I don't remember who he was throwing it to. Might have been Dawson Knox in the back of the end zone for a touchdown pass, and he airmailed it, right? It was a horrible throw. And nobody wanted to talk about him completing 72% of his passes on 46 attempts, 33 completions. Nobody wanted to talk about it being his first 300-yard game and 3 total touchdowns. All they wanted to talk about was, yeah, Josh Allen had that goofy throw where he didn't throw a touchdown when he should have. Josh Allen said, bet. Week 2, 415 yards, passing 4 touchdowns in a road win over the Dolphins. Week 3, 311 passing yards, 5 total touchdowns, and a come-from-behind win over the Rams in Week 3. Week 4, 70% completion percentage, 3 touchdown day in a road win over the Raiders. The manifestation of the work that Josh Allen had been putting in and how the team built around Josh Allen, it was revealing itself early in 2020. And I don't have a lot of good things to say about Doug Marrone. And you're probably like, whoa, why is Doug Marrone coming up right now? Doug Marrone had a quote that I'm pretty sure he had on the wall in the field house for the Bills practice. And it's a good quote. It's one that I really, really like. And I think it applies well, to Josh Allen's situation. The quote is very simple. It's don't confuse effort with results. Don't confuse effort with results. 2 different things. 2 completely different things. Effort helps with results, but don't confuse effort with results. And I think that having the success that the Bills and Josh Allen had early in 2020 was important because it was a big affirmation in they had the right trajectory and that Josh was doing the right things to improve on his weaknesses and become a really, really outstanding player. The results were there to go with the effort. How about the Seattle win in 2020? The day after his grandmother passed away, Josh Allen goes 31 of 38, 415 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown. And that was, I don't want to say par for the course or a typical Josh Allen 2020 performance, but it really didn't surprise us, right? Like, that was the type of player he was showcasing himself as in 2020. But with the dynamics of playing in the aftermath of a challenging loss for him personally, but how the community of Buffalo and how Bills Mafia rallied around Josh Allen and raised all that money for Oshai's Children's Hospital, over $1 million raised to show something, right? To show support for their quarterback. That was huge. That was huge. And you knew that Bills fans loved Josh Allen, right? Like, there was the doubters, but he's your quarterback, right? He's your quarterback. You love him. He's getting better and better and better. He's peaking in 2020, it feels like. Then he has some tragedy, goes out and plays well, and the community rallies around him in a very, very powerful way. That was, I wouldn't say the first moment, but it was a defining moment in understanding what Josh Allen meant to Bills Mafia and Josh Allen just feeling that love and support. I think that was very influential in Josh further affirming his desires to be in Buffalo and just how perfect the marriage of Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills and the Bills Mafia, how all that works together. That was a big moment. And the last thing I'll say about 2020, the AFC Championship game loss. I mean, the Bills had a historic season. 13-3, the best offense in team history, no question. Josh Allen delivered the best quarterback season in team history. The Bills won 2 playoff games, the first time since 1995. They're the division champions for the first time since 1995. And then they go out and lose the AFC Championship game. It wasn't Josh Allen's fault. There's plenty of blame to go around. Defense, Sean McDermott. But it was a meaningful lesson. It's part of the story, as Sean McDermott would say it. Getting to that moment and feeling what it feels like to lose and to have such a great season, to accomplish all that they accomplished, to come up short of getting to the Super Bowl, you have to feel like that's meaningful. Because at the end of the day, we loved the 2020 Buffalo Bills. We enjoyed that offense. But we kind of forget about all the accomplishments of that team and say, man, they couldn't beat the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. Meaningful lesson for Josh Allen and the Bills. Let's get to 2021, year 4. Expectations could not be higher for Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills last season. And I think a lot of what happened in 2021 was influential, or will prove to be influential in Josh Allen's play moving forward, where, let's face it, the expectations high, but the inconsistency killed that team. Started in week 1 with the loss to the Steelers. Felt like the offense was finding itself all year long. Even though they beat the Dolphins in week 2, I think 35-0, I think we can all agree that the offense wasn't sharp. Now, you saw it kind of find itself against Washington, but was hot and cold all year. Big game against Kansas City, a stinker against Jacksonville, stinker against the Colts. Just hot and cold. I thought the Bills were an entitled football team last year where they knew the expectations and they thought if they showed up and played a football game that they would win. And then the Tampa Bay game happened. The Bills didn't win the Tampa Bay game, but you saw that team respond. You saw Josh Allen put it on his shoulders. The Bills were 7-6 after that game. 7-6. They won 4 in a row, went to the playoffs. The offense starts to peak. Josh Allen's playing out of his mind. And then playoff Josh Allen happens against the Patriots and Chiefs. Josh Allen playing at a level the NFL's never seen before in the postseason. And all of that, I think, realizing that they have to start faster, they have to play better early, they can't take it for granted, losing again at Kansas City, understanding the importance of playing home playoff games. The Bills have never lost a home playoff game with Josh Allen. 3-0 at home in the playoffs. 0-2 on the road. 0-3 on the road under Sean McDermott in the playoffs. I think they're going to understand that, hey, no, we can't take for granted a week 9 game against the Jaguars, because that could be the difference in us being home against Kansas City or having to go back to that place and try to win a game in January. The value of every game. It felt like the Bills were just trying to get to the postseason last year. Just get to the postseason. Try to stay healthy. Get to the postseason. Because in 2020, I mean, Diggs was banged up late. Cole Beasley was banged up late. Had some O-line injuries. I think they kind of went into self-preservation mode a little bit and said, hey, we have high expectations, but we got to get to the postseason. We got to get there healthy. And that cost them. That cost them the number 1 seed. So a lot of lessons from 2021 that I think are going to be very important for Josh Allen and the Bills moving forward. So there it is. I went through his football journey and identified what I think are the most pivotal moments, the turning points, the things that have helped craft Josh Allen into what he is today. Josh Allen week has been fun. We did the what I learned scouting Josh Allen on Sunday. We talked about how the Bills surrounded Josh Allen and Jim Kelly yesterday. Today, the turning points. Tomorrow is herd mentality. Josh Allen only edition. I have a ton of great stuff to get to. Thursday will be our Bills fan roundtable, where me and 3 other Bills fans are going to talk about Josh Allen's specific impact on our fandom. And then Friday, we're going to tackle the tough questions with Josh Allen moving forward. So Josh Allen week is rolling on all week long. It's Tuesday. I guess we're sort of in the middle, but there's a lot more to come. Don't miss anything. Make sure you're subscribed. We'd love it if you took a second to rate, review, and share the podcast. Have a great rest of your day, and I look forward to catching up with you again tomorrow.